Yeah, 1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
The podcast.
Shout out to Rockhound Detroit Lions, man. My pride.
All right, good morning. Welcome into the Rise of Grind Morning Show. I'll be your host today, man. It's Will Rock and Riley today. We're going to be kicking it off talking about your Detroit Lions, NFL news, kind of getting into the rumors today about the Lions. Maybe there's some top headlines. Have a few special things to discuss today. One being for your Detroit Lions. Very, very, very special honor for this individual. We're going to get into all that here in just about 15 seconds. I hate to keep you waiting, but we're going to kick it off. We'll be right back.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Okay, can you hear me when I'm solo? Is the biggest question. We just did this last night. We didn't have any problems. Okay, so we can definitely hear me. I don't know what changes when... I'm still waiting for tier 2 level from Roadcaster to get with me to figure out what the heck happened. Like if I've got a bum Roadcaster, like if something broke, if I have a bad routing, something or other. I don't know what the hell's in this thing, but they said something about the routing last night. I was up till 1 o'clock with Roadcaster, and I was up with Riley for a while last night with Roadcaster. We didn't have any problems. Period. Last night we got everything worked out. All right, let me try this now. Which I don't know why this would make a difference, but let's just try it. All right. Do you hear us now? And then Riley, go ahead and say something too.
Yeah, there's some people in the chat saying it reminds them of the Pink Floyd song, "Your lips move, but I can't hear what you're saying." So you guys can see that my lips are moving. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Can you hear the words coming out of my mouth? And they can. I can hear it. So, all right, there we go.
We're back on.
I don't know why. I don't know why turning that on even matters, because half the time it doesn't matter.
You know what? That's like, we just started with the 3 and out. That's all right. That's all right. We're gonna punt. We punted on it. Now we're kicking into gear. We're about to go get touchdowns every drive right here.
So since I'm gonna have to restart this whole damn thing, just because. 17 seconds. Here we go.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rockhound Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
All right, take 2. Good morning, Riley.
All right. Good morning. How we doing?
I'm doing good, man. So like I said about 5 minutes ago, I said it's been a long week and a half already. I'm exhausted. I mean, all this stuff, having to stay up all night trying to figure out what's going on with all the audio issues, working with Roadcaster, and was up with you last night for a little bit trying to get some things figured out. And it's only Tuesday, and it feels like a Friday. The bags under my eyes, they feel full. Like it's been a long week already. And like I said, today I really want to start to put the Bears to bed. However, I was checking my Twitter. I've been working with this guy behind the scenes to try to get him on last week. It didn't work out. So possibly tomorrow. I know we're going to be joined by Chicken Nugget tomorrow. I call him Chicken Thighs. But we're going to be joined by Chicken Nugget tomorrow, and then probably a Bears Talk underground at BTU_Larry. So hopefully have him in, and then have him in for week 18. Now, remember, tomorrow we're going to be the Lions fans that we are. It's not about trolling. It's just about having a good conversation. I want to know what he's feeling about Ben and what he's feeling about Caleb. Like that's the biggest thing to me. Is it's only 2 weeks into the season. How do you feel things are going? Right? How do you feel things are going? And that's really it. I've listened to a couple of his podcasts already. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's such an interesting angle, because again, obviously we're close to it with Ben Johnson, with them being in the NFC North. I'll tell you, man, yesterday Colin Cowherd came out and he said something that our guy Thor Nystrom said early August about he didn't feel like this was a marriage that was going to work, that Ben Johnson is the movie director, that you need to follow the script as the lines are written, and Caleb Williams is more the improviser. And so what he does well now, again, to me, that I can't imagine that Ben Johnson he can't be surprised with how things are going so far. I think that I understood why he went to Chicago. I've made it clear. I think Caleb Williams has the talent. If already after 2 weeks, you're thinking, oh, this isn't what I thought it was. Well, what did you think it was going to be? Right? You had to know the styles didn't mesh. So you either had to adjust or you had to try to figure out how you were going to coach them through it. It'd be very interesting to see from a Chicago perspective, how they're feeling, because you're talking about having a long week here. It already feels like Friday. I can't imagine if the Lions were 0-2, how we would be feeling. So that's what our friends in Chicago are having to cope with and deal with. So be interesting, man. Yeah, to hear kind of what where their thoughts are with Ben and everything over there.
Well, I mean, I'm expecting the same level of the sky is falling rhetoric that we heard from Lions fans in, week 1. That everything's a mess, everything's a disaster. Ben's not a good coach, and Caleb Williams is not a good football player. I mean, you guys know how I feel about Caleb Williams. I think that he's too much drama. I think that he's too involved in himself. And quite honestly, I think that the downfall of Ben Johnson is going to be exactly what happened to Matt Eberflus. Even though Matt Eberflus, in my opinion, not a great head coach because he didn't make the right decisions when it mattered, I think Caleb Williams railroaded him. And for whatever reason, the Bears are seeing past Ryan Poles and going straight to the head coach. They should have fired Ryan Poles. If they would have fired Ryan Poles and brought in a new GM, I think that the ground probably would have gotten running a little bit faster, right? Having both guys have their feet firm on the ground together, working together, two guys that, maybe agree with each other on a large amount of how things should go. We don't even know if they agree with each other. Like, those are things that we're not going to know. And the only way that we know that stuff about the Lions is because straight up Dan and Brad have told us, like, we pretty much see the field the same way. We're looking through the same lens. And you don't hear that yet out of Chicago. And not to say that we ever will, but the point is, I think Caleb is the one that's going to just tear it all down. I really do. And the reason why I say that is looking at his face on Sunday and how, I don't know if you saw the picture that I shared or the video that I shared where he put his helmet up to the side of his face.
Yeah, like he was tuning him out.
Yeah, like he was tuning out Ben Johnson. Ben was over to the other side, and now the other thing that could be said is he was trying to listen into his helmet, right, to hear what the call was to Bagent. That could have been it too. That could totally be it. But Ben was over there, and Caleb was, helmet to the side of the face, like, I don't want to see you, I don't want to hear you, I don't want to, you know what I mean? Hear no evil, see no evil, I guess.
Why not go stand by him?
Exactly. Like, you got pulled, the game is over. So think about it this way. You did me a favor, Ben. You got me out of the game where maybe I could have suffered an injury, at the end of the fourth quarter where the game doesn't matter. We're not coming back. Hell, you probably should have taken me out, the beginning of the third quarter. But Ben did him a solid, got him out of the game, got Bagent some snaps, which Bagent's played. He only got like 3 snaps, I think. Bagent's played well this preseason. I think Bagent's going to be the one that keeps that team rolling by the end of the season. He's going to get a lot of snaps if Caleb Williams can't put it together. I don't see them risking Caleb Williams if they go down, 5-6 games in the first half of the season, which is kind of what I expected, but we'll see if it happens. Anyway, Bears fans already calling for Bagent? Absolutely they are, man. It's interesting, right? A lot of fans were calling for Hendon Hooker too. And I will say that wouldn't have worked out well. And I'm not saying the Bagent's not going to work out, but Caleb Williams does not look like a professional ready quarterback. It's only year 2, but first overall picks largely look better than this deep into their career already. I do have a couple of things that I want to share, but before I do, is there anything that you want to share real quick before I just kind of go through the kind of some topics we're going to get into?
Yeah, just on that note, I'm going to tell you, I'll share with everybody just what I had told Will last night. I was in, again, with a Bears channel yesterday. They're talking about, again, this whole situation. Do they go to Bagent? What do they do with Caleb? It just blows me away that, you're at this point already with a guy you just took number 1 overall. They're talking about, well, could somebody in the chat ask, could you trade for a Joe Burrow? Well, the host shot that down. It's not realistic. Said more realistically, you would be going for somebody like a Kyler Murray. Well, at that point, why would you not just have Ben Johnson draft the guy that he wants? And then they got into a conversation about, well, he needs somebody with structure. Kyler Murray's a little bit more on the Caleb Williams side where he's, scrambling and improvising more. So they started throwing out names of, who would that be? Well, somebody said, what about like a Dak Prescott? And then I just had to get my one comment in. I said, Jared Goff. Right? Because I had
that they
in
would be
mind,
not that you want to trade him, that they would be looking for that style of a quarterback.
Who is the quarterback that Ben Johnson needs? Again, I understand he wanted to be a head coach. It wasn't going to happen in Detroit. I'm not mad at Ben Johnson, but it's just ironic because last week, Jared Goff's nothing without Ben Johnson. There was the tweet surfaced that was showing Dan Orlovsky, and it said, this is Jared Goff when he doesn't have Ben Johnson. Well, 500 yards and 50 points later, now they're already talking about, dude, man, what can we do at the quarterback position? It's like, I don't know, man. How about the guy that just beat you? Why not talk about him? Not that I want Jared Goff to be traded, but I'm sure the Bears fans would absolutely love to have Jared Goff, which interesting what a difference a couple of days can make.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you're saying is it's that style of a quarterback that Ben's offense relies on somebody that can see the field, that can react quickly. You have to be able to get through your progressions. And when I was going through tape yesterday, watching some of the film, I did it live, last night a little bit too, that every time that it seemed like Caleb came under pressure and was not able to deliver the football, he was locked in on one guy. If it's 2 seconds into the play and you're still looking at the same direction, you haven't even gotten through your progressions yet. Had he just moved his head to the left a little, he had wide open outlet over the center field, man, right behind the linebacker. on numerous plays. And so that's telling me that he's not surveying the field. He's not getting his eyes on multiple looks. And that's why it looks like a mess, because he's not able to progress. Hendon Hooker, same problem. Was not able to progress through the options that he had on every play. From my perspective, that's what I see from, a million miles away through my lens. But I don't know what the calls were. I don't know what the options were. I don't know what the routes were. I don't know any of that. I can see it all after the fact. Hindsight is always 20/20, Davenport. Always 20/20 for all you people talking Davenport. He'll be fine. I guess it just never fails that you move to a different team because you have all of these expectations of somebody that may not work out. Maybe Caleb Williams needs 3 seasons. This is his second offensive coordinator, his second season in the league, so he's starting all over again. He's basically a rookie all over again. Maybe he clicks in year 3 or 4, but it's not going to happen this year. It's not. And I'm saying it's not because you can just see the level of disconnect that there was in the preseason, the level of disconnect that there was in training camp. It has continued into the regular season. And maybe it got worse. I want to bring in this. I'm hoping it works. Let me make sure audio's turned on. I want to bring in this dude that had something to say. Oh, you know what? That's a display capture. Let me bring in a window capture. So this guy had absolutely amazing commentary about the whole situation here with Caleb Williams. And I absolutely loved it. So let me bring this guy in. Did we just have a super chat? I just saw something blue flash by.
I'll go track it down.
Sorry, guys. Give me 1 second. I didn't see I don't have the chat right in front of me.
Yeah, we do. It was Attila the Hun sent in a $2 personal wise with MD out. Who do the Lions look to? So he's talking Davenport or personnel wise.
With Davenport out, it's going to be Muhammad and Wingo. I think that you're going to see a lot more of them, and then obviously, I'm not ruling out Davenport. I mean, you have 8 days between games. If he has an AC joint separation, then yeah, you're kind of screwed. It is what it is. I just, man, looking at that play over and over and over and over again yesterday, I'm like, how does that even happen? Was he already suffering from something, in the season that just kind of reared its ugly head? Because yeah, that did not look like something to me that should have caused an injury. However, here's the thing that we have to not to transition off of Caleb. I'll put Caleb to bed here in a minute, I guess. The thing that we need to focus on, which we'll come back to this. Let me add this. Lions edge talk. Put that in here. The focus of this defense is not your defensive ends. I've said it multiple times this year. I said it during the preseason. I said it during training camp. It is not your defensive ends with Calvin Shepard's defense. Of course, your defensive ends are going to get after the quarterback. That is the overall goal. But just go look at this last weekend's game. Where were your defensive ends the primary defensive role, right? They weren't. They were not the primary defensive role in this defense. Jack Campbell completely obliterated Swift. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this play. I might even have it. He obliterated Swift and then went after Caleb. He didn't even need to go after Swift. He could have just went right after Caleb. But he wanted to get his shot on Swift. Clearly, if you haven't seen the play. So the point is it's not just about Aiden, and it's not just about Marcus Davenport. It's about the linebackers and the interior defense with Calvin's style of defense so far, right? So far. And I'll be honest, if everyone's going to talk about getting someone on the opposite of Aiden, it's not because Aiden needs help. Aiden does not look good, period. Does not look good right now. You can argue with me all you want, up and down. I'll show you tape. I'll show you time after time after time in both these games. He does not look great. And to me, that's more scary than losing Marcus Davenport, because now you're in a situation where you really don't have two guys operating, right? If Aiden's not operating at a high level and Davenport's out, that's the problem. If Aiden's operating at a high level, it does not even matter who's on the other side, because 26 out of 32 teams are built the same exact way. And out of those 26 teams, most of the ones that are in the top of the league only have one edge that's good, right? So we're no different, except for we have Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Kirby Joseph, DJ Reed, Terry and Arnold, and the list goes on and on and on. We have an elite defense. We don't just have one guy. We don't have two guys. We have like 8 guys on that defense. And Tyleek Williams really showed up and showed us who he's going to be. Comments on that before I roll this video?
Yep, Tyleek played awesome, man. He had a great game, and when he makes those plays, I think back to the live draft show and just how the marriage is there between, I feel like what you were saying he was going to bring to the team. We saw that. It's not always the statistics that show up, but I'll tell you what, there's ways to impact a play if you're not getting a sack, right? He's batting passes down. That's what you want out of your first round pick, and then as you say, everything is. You need Aiden Hutchinson to be your best defensive player. And then on the opposite side, it's all supplementary and complementary to what he does. And so it's good to have him back on the field for sure, but hopefully he's just making his way upward. Everything we heard in camp was he's better than ever. Well, we haven't really seen that. Not really. We have not seen that the first 2 weeks, and we need that to go up.
Yes. So even continuing on with that part of the conversation, like I think that you and I spoke about it the other day, maybe it was me and Eric, where when you're in camp, what happens? You're getting used to Penei Sewell. You're getting used to Taylor Decker. You're getting used to Giovanni Manu. The Hutch rule was because they couldn't stop him. All right, well, Penei Sewell's pass pro is not even ranked in the top 32. His pass pro is terrible. I mean, it's good. It's not elite. For him to be a top tackle in the league, as he has been proclaimed, his pass pro is not great. And so no surprise that Aiden's able to beat Penei Sewell on pass pro, right? No surprise there. No surprise that he's able to beat Decker or Manu or anybody else that you put out at left or right tackle. Not surprised one bit. But if you're continuing the muscle memory from week to day, the day after day after day, week after week after week, month after month, now you're going up against new guys. So your body is used to going up against this guy. And now you're up against, Braxton Jones or whomever they've gone up against in the last 2 weeks. It's not the same. Aiden gets steered. He gets manhandled. He's too light at times. His feet are moving too much. They're not driving forward. They're driving out. And those are the things that I pick up about Aiden. It's not bash session. It's reality. I would say the same thing about Marcus, except when I showed you guys the video last night of Marcus, you don't see that. You see driving forward. You see anchoring up on the edge where he's set the edge. He doesn't get vertical. He doesn't get steered. And then he crashes in on Caleb Williams. Totally different style of a sack than what Aiden had. Aiden went wide bend around everybody, then to come back to get Caleb Williams, which Derek Barnes and Muhammad would have had him no matter what. And they were taking more of a vertical angle route versus Aiden's wide angle route to come around to the other side. So 2 totally different of styles, right? They both can work. The difference with Aiden's is I think he gets too deep, too vertical, and it opens up too big of holes. And he gets steered too often, and he's not using a quality bull rush and putting these tackles on their heel to loosen up their anchor. If you can't get them out of their anchor, then you can't push them and control them where you want them to go. That's why the spin move is what Aiden does, right? He tries to disengage and spin his way off of it to then find a hole and then hope the quarterback's there. Quarterback could already be gone. So is Aiden a high-quality defensive end? Absolutely. Is he struggling right now? Yes, he is. Can he figure it out? 100%. So sky's not falling. It's just the dude just came back from a major injury. And I'm not the only one saying this. You can go listen to any other NFL analyst right now. They're going to say the same thing. He just needs time, right? He just needs time. All right, let me bring this in because this dude had some good stuff to say, and I think he's trying to be funny, trying to get a bunch of clicks, which I think he did. I think he got over 500,000 or something. I don't remember. Or maybe he didn't. No, he did. 635 views. 635K for views. Just listen to what he said. And since it's a Twitter video, it doesn't really line up that great. Ooh, nice eyes, dude. Stone to the bone. I'm just kidding. Let me make sure the audio's turned on, though, before I even hit play. Yeah, the whole goal with creating all this, like I said, Riley, is that I wouldn't have to turn any more audio on. It was just supposed to play.
You know what's interesting? This morning, for the first time, as we're coming into the show, I could hear it.
Well, you should be able to hear those.
Right.
You should always be able to hear the assets.
Yeah, I've never been able to hear it unless I'm listening on a separate window through YouTube or through on my phone. But it'd be interesting to see if I'll be able to hear him speaking here in this video.
You should. You should be able to. All right, here we go. Let me play this dude. Make sure it's unmuted on Twitter side. All right, here we go. Will Compton.
Dude, imagine being a Bears fan
with an
right
echo.
now. I mean, this isn't even about football anymore. This is beyond football for this fan base. They've had a team that's just been in a coma. Like that city, like what do they have going on? With the random friend from out of town who's coming in town that texts them and say, hey, where's the best deep dish pizza spot? A couple days of summer that they swear is the best time of the year. Like that's how painful it is. Like they don't know what to say. They don't care anymore, and that's why we're in a dangerous spot. If you have a Bears friend, check on them. Because there's nothing you can say. All they want is just to have a team that they can root for. Like they've switched GMs, they've switched head coaches, they've switched quarterbacks, they've used first round picks on quarterbacks. They got a quarterback right now that has a generational talent, but he's not a generational player. He's not a generational leader. Where's that generational poise? They don't care about the nails. They don't care about the sweat. They just want to be able to root for their Chicago Bears. And not have to think about every Halloween just that who's going to be Mike Ditka this year? Who's going to be Walter Payton? This is a fan base that they're struggling. And if you got a buddy, put your arm around them. My heart is with the city of Chicago. Holy shit. It sucks to be you guys.
I'm sorry. Oh my God. I was crying so hard when I heard this morning. He's not lying. Like, first of all, he's trying to be serious at the same time. You could tell that I think there's a slight troll going on here, but he's also not lying about the information that he just gave. And it was kind of what I was just saying about Caleb Williams. And exactly what he just said. Where is that? If he's a generational player, whoever put the GP tag on him, that's why I try not to use that term. Like he said, where's the generational poise? Where's the generational leadership? Caleb is just he's a 2-year-old throwing temper tantrums. He has no poise in the pocket. And I feel like he's just disrespectful in his actions on the sideline. Like, you're getting your ass kicked and you're over there smiling on the sideline? What are you smiling about? You should be looking at the surface, right? Sitting with your coaches, dissecting what just happened on the still images and trying to correct it. Instead, you're just standing there smiling. Like, what was he happy about? Was he happy that Ben went home and got his ass kicked? Is that what he was smiling about? Because that's what I'm thinking. The dude's not right. This Will Compton dude, whoever he is, I don't think he's a Bears fan. But he did say, man, his heart's with the city. All they want to do is root for a team, just like the Lions. All we wanted to do is root for a team. Same thing. We wasted a bunch of picks on big-time players that didn't turn out to be big-time players. The Chicago Bears have done the same thing for decades. And the last thing, I mean, that's just what put me over the edge, was on Halloween, who's going to be Mike Ditka and who's going to be Peyton. That put me over the edge. So what were your thoughts on his comments? Trolling or not, he did say a few things in there that pretty spot on.
For sure. That's what makes it even funnier, is that it's laced with truth. There's no, love what he said too, generational talent, but not generational leadership. And to the quarterback position, we all understand that, right? Like, you have to have both. You have to. And I think that's where that disconnect is. It's the best plays that Caleb Williams makes, when he rolls out and he's running towards the sideline and then he just throws something on a rope and it's like, holy hell, dude, that was incredible. But that's the problem, is your best plays. Like, Jared Goff is the guy that will, the Monday night game against Seattle, where he's 18 for 18 or whatever. He's the guy, like, at the end of the game, it's like, oh my gosh, dude, he's got 321 yards and 2 incompletions. He just kind of will do it kind of quietly, right? Caleb Williams makes a lot of noise, and it's problematic that the best plays that you make are the ones that don't actually help your team win. Just empty calorie. That was an amazing throw that just got over the hands of Kirby and Branch, but your guy dropped it. And then you see Caleb hang his head. It's not my fault. I put the ball out there. It's not my fault. And that's what I think that smiling on the sideline is a deflection. I'm good. I'm chilling. You guys see my talent. This isn't my problem. It's not my fault. It's again 2 games into the season, but it does not look good in Chicago. And listening to any Chicago fan, and he says, check, if you know any Bears fans, check on him. It is crazy to hear them ask, are we cursed? It's like it's flipped, man. It literally, and they mean it. And I mentioned it during the postgame show Sunday. I listened to a lot of them thinking that the refs were favoring the Lions. Like, when did that happen? When did that become a thing? The tides have turned, and Chicago, it's not looking good. Ben Johnson's, this is uphill, and they're only 0-2. I mean, that the season's not over, but it feels like it's on the brink.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you, Trace. I shouldn't have those issues anymore. I shouldn't have to unmute anymore. That's the goal of all this, is that I shouldn't have to do anything. I'm trying to make it easier over here, but what people I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, there's a couple of people that have said things, like, you guys have all these issues. We really don't. I mean, compared to a lot of channels, we don't have a ton of issues. Like, if you try to compare the video quality and audio quality from this to anybody else, like, there's not many that are better. That was our focus, was getting the audio and the video right. It's a lot on the back end. Like, if you saw how much stuff I have to deal with, it's a ton. Even to bring in a guest is not easy. But to manage all of that and then have all of this stuff dialed up and ready to go at a moment's notice, hey, if I'm batting a 95%, I'm good with that. Largely 10% of the issues that we have is internet failure, internet, supplier failure, right? Or ISP, or something tragic happens with a power outage and it just screws everything all up. But I don't know what happened the other night, but it's almost there. It's almost fixed. At least we're able to have a conversation this morning. All right, I'm gonna put Caleb Williams to bed for right now. It's hard not to talk about that whole thing because of what it is. But up next, we've got our first Riley on the 30s. We're 8 minutes late, but we'll be right back.
It's game time. time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
All right, guys, let's do this. We are 2 weeks in, so only 2 weeks here, but let's get a look at who is at the top of each NFL division. NFC North, we know it's the Green Bay Packers. Look, they played their first 2 games at Lambeau Field. They hit the road this week for their first trip. Go to Cleveland. Probably going to be 3-0, but it'd be awesome if they end this thing at 2-1. NFC South, Tampa Bay, 2-0. They narrowly won last night by a point in Houston. Yeah, that's 5 consecutive years that Tampa has started 2-0. In the NFC East, the Eagles are 2-0. They have a 7-point differential between them and their opponents, so they've had some narrow wins. But I'll tell you what, a win in a Super Bowl rematch has Philly feeling themselves. NFC West, you've got 3 teams that are all 2-0. San Francisco, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Rams. That's a tough division. 3 teams 2-0. How do you split that up? AFC East, Buffalo Bills, they're 2-0. Josh Allen took a nasty hit towards the end of the first quarter, but he did return. So Buffalo has their quarterback all as well. AFC West, Chargers. Last night they finished, beat the Raiders. They're now 2-0. AFC South, it's the Indianapolis Colts. They are the first team in the Super Bowl era who has not punted in either of their first 2 games in a season. And then wrapping it up, AFC North, things aren't looking good with Cincinnati and Joe Burrow having to miss upwards of 3 months. But right now, as it stands, Cincinnati 2-0 in the AFC North.
All right, good work. So that's our Riley on the 30 update of NFL standings right now. So everybody that is leading the division is 2-0 right now. We don't have any 1-1s leading a division or tied for a division. There are clear winners right now at 2-0. It's early, right? We're just now getting into week 3. But even saying that, just think about that for a moment. 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, oh shit, almost 3 weeks ago now, on a Thursday night, we open up the season. And we're just ready for NFL football. We're 3 weeks in already. That means I'm 3 weeks closer to 46. Like, it's happening that fast. It seems like you get older and things just fly by. It's like watching a river just run by you as you're standing on the bank and like, there goes your life. There goes the NFL season. It's just gone in a heartbeat. Got to value these things, man. Like, we wait all year for this stuff, and here we are. Here we are.
Yeah.
You mentioned point differential in one of your stats. Who was that?
The Eagles. So they've had a couple of very close wins, but a win's a win.
I was trying to pull up some point differential stats. So obviously the Lions lost by 14.
Yeah, here's what's crazy.
They lost by 14 and then they win by 31. Right? So if you
putting up 52 helps.
Do what?
Yeah, putting up 52 points in one game.
Yeah, so that took them from bottom of the league to now they're tied in 6th place right now in point differential at plus 8.5. So that 31-point win is what propelled them up to 6th place. Otherwise, we're like bottoms of the league. There's a handful of teams right now that have a negative point differential, which means they didn't score enough points to wipe out the first week's win or loss, right? Loss. Dallas, New England, Las Vegas, Houston, Kansas City, minus 4.5. Pittsburgh, New Orleans, Minnesota, minus 6.5. New York Giants, Carolina, Jets, Tennessee, Cleveland, Miami, and the Bears. Minus 17-point differential per game. That's huge. Were you going to say something else? Did I interrupt you?
No, you did not. I was getting too damn excited, and I was the one interrupting you. But I was just looking at the points for There are a couple teams in the AFC that have scored more than the Lions, but through these first 2 weeks, guess what team in the NFC has scored the most points?
Yeah.
Again, a 52-point game helps, but it's your Detroit Lions.
I want to roll to this next video here. I forgot. I can't put it to bed just yet. I forgot that I had one more. And this is a must do. We have to watch this one because there's something amazing happening right now in Detroit. And it's a special individual who's been around a long time. Very, very long time. So first and foremost, I just want to say, I don't know why I can't get this thing loaded up. Come on, load it up. Load it up. Where'd it go? Media source. Well, I guess let's just roll to it and we'll see what happens. Oh, well, it didn't work. It's there, but it's not working. Here we go. Happy birthday to Mrs. Ford. 100 years old today. 100 years old today. If you guys don't understand the significance of that, Mrs. Ford has watched this team since its beginning. Right? If 1934 is really the first year for your Detroit Lions, she's watched 91 years of it? 91 years of this team. Is my mathing? 1934 minus 2025 would be about 91 years.
It is.
Yeah. So she was 9 years old then when this team was really born in 1934. And she's watched it all. That's some history, man. How much lives inside her. And you know what? When she spoke, which we'll hear in a minute, still sounds sharp as all get out at 100 years old, which is crazy to think, you know, how sharp she still sounds. So anyway, big ups, man, to Mrs. Ford. 100 years old today. Lions royalty. She's been through it all, man, with her husband, with her son, with her daughter, with all of the Lions loyalty members, all of the Lions fans, all of the Lions players. She's been there. So thank you. Thank you for delivering finally for something for us to be excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's like you talk about how life goes by like a river, right? How quick it goes. You know, I'm sure it's flown by, but these last few years, I'm sure have undone a lot of years of pain and misery. You know, it's crazy just comparing the last 2 weeks, even, right? The horrible feeling and taste in your mouth after week one versus a 30-point stomping of Ben Johnson in Chicago. It's football's so amazing, man. The emotion that it stirs and makes us feel, and then we can all come here and do this all together as one big family, and enjoying the Lions. But yeah, man, I saw Dan Campbell give her a game ball. 100 years, that's impressive. And very few people seem to hit the triple-digit year mark.
It's crazy, man. But happy birthday, Mrs. Ford. All right, let's get into this locker room celebration, man. This was epic as usual. We didn't get one in week 1, but we did get one in week 2.
All right, man, that's awesome. Yep. Man, there's nothing like getting your first win of the season and playing better than we did last week. A lot freaking better. I bet we go through the tape, we're going to say communication was better, the execution was better, everybody was on point, and we won a lot of one-on-ones. We won a ton of them. That's what the tape's going to say. There's a lot to clean up, and we will clean it up. You only worry about what we can worry about, man, which is doing our own job, man, and cleaning our own shit up. We believe in us. We're the ones who put in the work. They forgot about who we were. It's like they forgot that we're fighters, all right? That's win number one. We got a good opponent in, 8 days? But listen, man, that's the way to get on the right track. It's a good win. I got 3 game balls. I'm going to start here, all right? We got a birthday, actually, Tuesday. It's her 100th birthday, Mrs. Ford.
I'm so proud of you all, and I'm so thankful for this. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and I can't tell you how thrilled I am with each game, and I see the results. And I think we've got a great leader.
Damn straight, Mrs. Ford.
All right, 6 total tackles, 1 sack, 2 TFLs, 1 forced fumble. BB!
It's a great dub. Now, bro, though, we can't get too excited. We got Baltimore next week.
Hell yeah.
On offense, 9 catches, 115 yards, 3 touchdowns. First 3-touchdown game in his career. St. Brown.
Appreciate you guys. Shout out Jared Goff, 5 touchdowns. Let's go.
That's number 1. Break it down.
Bring it out. Hey, way to respond. Proud of every one of you guys. Way to respond. Feed off each other. Great job. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, man. That's awesome.
Jared Goff's potty mouth. I don't feel so bad some days when I lose it. Like, I don't know, over the last 6 months, I think I've been cursing a little bit more than I should be. But how does Jared Goff not get a game ball? How does that happen? How does he have a 5-touchdown game, 300+ yards, no interceptions, damn near perfect again, with a perfect, I mean, just a 2.3 points away from perfect rating. Perfect through 3 quarters, and he doesn't get a game ball?
I have a thought.
He probably just gave it up. Is that what you're going to say? Just gave it up so somebody else could have it?
No. Good idea, but I think this is what it is. You remember last year, and I remember you were talking about this during the postgame show. And this was right before I was interviewing you, like the next week. So, and I saw you on Monday Night Football, saw you behind Jared Goff on the pregame show. And you and Eric were talking about it the next morning. He didn't get a game ball then that night either, despite having did not throw an incompletion. And he caught a touchdown. You know what I think it is? In this case, again, tonight, 5 touchdowns. I think it's because Dan Campbell just expects this of Jared Goff. And rightfully so. And I love, because on Sunday, our postgame show, we were talking about game MVP. If there's a way you can split a football in half, you said give 1 to Goff, give 1 to St. Brown. Because you don't throw 5 touchdowns if 3 of them don't go to Amon-Ra. And Amon-Ra, you're not catching 3 if you don't have Jared Goff throwing them to you. So I thought it was an apt observation, right? Mm-hmm. What did St. Brown do when they just gave him the game ball? Immediately turned and said, hey, shout out to Jared Goff. That stuff is small, but man, it matters, man. Yeah. That stuff matters. That's compare and contrast to, again, what Chicago's locker room was feeling. Not only because they lost, but had they won, you just don't see that type of thing. So I think what it is Dan Campbell expects that of Goff. And, I'm sure if he does it again, he's like, oh, yeah. Hey, thanks, Amon-Ra. Yeah, I probably should have given him 1, too. But it's just like you have... Where much is given, much is required, right? And Jared Goff, like you talked about, he can process a ton of information. So, yeah, in a do-over, Campbell's probably like, yeah, I probably should give him 1 if he has that good of a game, but he expected him to.
I think you're spot on. I think you're absolutely spot on with that it's expected of Jared Goff. And the funny thing is, and I wish I had the Ryan Clark dialed up of what Ryan Clark said about this team after the game and how all of a sudden now he's saying the Lions were always this and you forgot about the Lions. You doubted the Lions and they are the Lions. They're not going anywhere. It's funny how the tables turn. And then Dan Orlovsky, a former Lion who used to be a Giant supporter when Matthew Stafford was here, and then when he exits the team, he turns tail and runs the other direction and starts trashing the Lions. It's it's like a facade, man. It's like you're putting on this mask, whether it's trying to drive clicks or narrative or whatever it is for Dan Orlovsky. I'm sorry, Dan Orlovsky, you can never say a damn thing about this team. You can't even stay in bounds. So I just don't care what he says anymore. But for somebody like Ryan Clark, who has really never said anything positive that I've ever really heard, not saying he hasn't 100% of the time, but Ryan Clark has always been a doubter of the Lions. Where did this come from? So to me, it's like you watch these guys long enough and they hitch their wagon to the teams that are winning, and they pump a bunch of content for it, and it kind of erases all of the stuff that they said before. If you put enough content out there, it's like people forget about what you said. With this channel, you can go back to just about any freaking video live show, and you're going to hear about the same thing over and over. Not that it's repetitive. I've never wavered. And the guys on this show really never wavered. We talk about the things we talk about, but we don't waver in our opinion, our love, our faith in the Detroit Lions and what we believe they are. We'll be real about it, but we don't waver about it. That just doesn't exist. So I just get sick of, people just trying to hitch their wagon to the Lions in the moment. What's going to happen if we get trounced against the Baltimore Ravens? Are they going to turn tail again and run the other direction and start saying a bunch of stuff? Yes, could, they will. Right? We're already going to have to deal with this narrative about the edge position because Davenport's, injured, which injuries happen. Did you guys forget that we have Josh Paschal that's supposed to be coming back? I haven't heard anything on that yet, but I hope he's coming back soon. It was supposed to be before week 1. It's now entering week 3. And we haven't heard anything yet. His window hasn't been opened, at least that unless something's happened in the last 12 hours since I've slept, I haven't heard anything. But I'm less concerned about the depth that we have when we have so many guys that can play on the inside and the outside. And the feature is not about the edge. It's everybody, right? Brian Branch getting sacks. That should tell you enough. Again, I'll say this. My biggest call of the season is that Calvin Shepard was going to utilize everybody, not just 2 guys on the outside. He's going to utilize everyone. And what I also noticed in this game was the pattern matching of zone to man. You did not see that from Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn rarely put us in zone looks. Calvin, if I were to put a number on it without actually counting or finding a stat that could tell me, I would say that we were in zone probably 40%, 45% of the time in this game, which is exactly why we were able to bottle up Caleb Williams from getting to the outside. So against the Ravens, I'm expecting the same thing, if not a little bit more zone against the Ravens so that you can have guys in position to allow your linebackers, your nickelback, or your strong safety to get after, Lamar. The Lions are going to go big, I think, in this game, right? You got Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, 2 studs, big dudes, hard to bring down. You have to go big in this game. You can't go small. So it sucks that Davenport may not be in this game, but we still have enough, man. Between Wingo and Chris Smith, those guys can play on the outside and get pressure, but we could also just put in extra defensive tackles so that we are big, right? And it's not about getting sacks in this game. It's going to be about control. And that's what will win the game against Baltimore is control. You go look at every game that they've lost and go look at what the defense has run. Well, you'll find out about that when I do the pregame show this week of how the Lions should win if they do these few things right. They have the staff to do it. They have the personnel. Anything you want to add to that before we move on?
Yeah, so I think that was my first thought. We were watching the game, and you and Eric are inside of Ford Field, and the 3 of us are texting. And right as I had that thought too, Now that's every defensive coordinator's dream, is to have some big lead, see the other team waving the white flag. Now you can just start having fun. Now you can start kind of trying some stuff and dialing up these exotic blitzes. And right as I had that thought, and I'm thinking to your call about how he's mixing all these different guys in, he's kind of becoming the defensive version of Ben Johnson with that mixologist theory of
good call,
trying different stuff, right? Very first time I had that thought, I'm watching and Branch is kind of hovering, and I'm like, okay, is he going to drop back? Ball snapped, and he went right at Caleb and got him. And I'm just thinking, man, that's exactly what Will is talking about. And at that point, again, the game, was kind of decided, and that's the perfect time to start mixing it up. It's been interesting to see. I think that 60-40, 40-60 kind of mix would be interesting to kind of, to go back and look at it. But as Dan Campbell's doing his post-game speech, he's talking about, you guys, communication was better, execution was better, and everybody's winning one-on-one. So once you start doing that, now you can mix up zone and man. It's like a boxer switching to southpaw. It's giving different looks. Now you're combining. It's the mental fatigue that sets in with players, because there's the physical element of it. But as the game's going on, if it's like, okay, they're in zone. Oh, shoot, now they're in man. Now they're in zone. Now they're in man. And you just can't get into the muscle memory of, knowing what the defense is doing. And I think that's great coaching. We've seen bad coaching, and the opponents will beat the Lions and say, yeah, we knew what they were going to do. You got to keep them guessing and keep it mixing up, which I think so far, we've seen through these first 2 weeks. Week 1 wasn't great, but you love how the Lions responded in week 2.
So yeah, speaking, more about the flipping between, man and zone, it doesn't allow the quarterback to get into a rhythm. Right? If you just consistently sit back there in single high safety, you can get into a rhythm. If you sit back there and just cover 2, you can get into a rhythm. And what I would say that benefits, how that benefits the defense the most, well, if a quarterback can't get into a rhythm, obviously they're not going to have a great day, number one. But number 2, it's not so much about us just switching between man and zone as it is the disguise of the concept that Calvin Shepard is bringing. What I said early in the during the preseason and during the offseason a little bit back in like June is I see a team that is going to utilize the linebackers more. I feel like a broken record right now, and the DBs a little bit more as opposed to the defensive ends. That's what you saw against the Bears. It's what you saw against the Packers. It's just the Packers had a better plan on the offensive line. When I texted all 22 the other day, I said, what in the heck did the Packers just run on that offensive line? Like, what did they just do to us that we couldn't get through, that we couldn't find any daylight at all? I said, at one point, I saw three double teams, and he's like, what? He's like, now I'm intrigued. Now I'm going to go look. I've never really seen that before, and that's why I made the comment, the only way you're going to stop the Lions is if you somehow manufacture 3 double teams on that offensive line. It doesn't ever happen, but it happened. Now, granted, they weren't full double teams. Like you had, and I don't even know what maybe it's a combo block that the center and the guards were doing, but imagine you have, your guards are engaged, tackles are engaged, and then the center is kind of moving between both sides. He's on this guy, and then this guy's starting to get free of linebackers, and then he's on this guy, and then a chip's coming through, the running back's coming up. So between the center and the running back kind of flip into, wherever the pressure was coming from, the tackles and the guards engaged. They also brought it, the tight end, on the other side. So they had a tight end and a tackle in a double team. They had a tackle and a guard in a double team. And then they had a center and a guard kind of flipping between a double team and then catching the pressure. That you can't do that like every down. You just can't. There's no way. Eventually, the Lions are going to figure it out. They'll find a way to get home. Or they're just going to drop everybody back, and then you're going to have to figure out a different way, which would be zone, right? So if you're running man and you're trying to run high pressure, well, that's where that's going to work. But if you drop back into a zone or into a big dime or even a big nickel, it gives you more speed and versatility to be able to hang with the guys. So then the quarterback can't deliver the football. You're not going to get sacks. And that's where I'm saying sacks are not needed. you need to get TFLs. You need to keep that ball around the line of scrimmage and make sure that they can't get the ball downfield. That's what I'm expecting in the Ravens game. And I'm not going to get into the Ravens game today. Wednesday is when we start the new week. But that's what I'm expecting, is Calvin Shepard to be the like you just said, man, great analogy there. The offensive version of Ben Johnson's mixology, which now it's Morton's mixology. That's the new name. It's Morton's mixology, to Calvin Shepard doing his own version of that. I'll have to figure out a name for that. But I think Calvin did a great job, man. Like, his second game, flawless. Absolute, like, Mortal Kombat flawless job in this game.
Yeah, no better Mortal Kombat flawless victory is the stumble bum celebration, right? The play, Shepard's on the sideline, hyping him up, and the players are just, that builds, right? You know that those guys on Monday and Tuesday, or however they do their schedule after the Packers, practice was probably, it's every bit as serious because Dan Campbell's in charge of it, but it's kind of, it sucks losing. We hate it. But then those guys are in the building today and they're feeling good. They're feeling confident. They're taking it serious because they know they have another task at hand. That's what Brian Branch said. Hey, all right, thanks for the game ball. Awesome, guys. And his mind's already in Baltimore. That's just leadership. And I was going to ask you one quick one too, Will, where during that, when Martha said, hey, shout out to we have a great leader. And you chimed in, you said, damn right. I wanted to flip that back to you to get your thoughts on what made you say that? What made you feel like right there, I need to underscore and emphasize exactly what Martha just said.
All right. Sorry, I missed the last part of what you said. I had to get my dog had to go.
No, you're good. I asked you a specific question.
What was it?
Yeah. So when we're playing that and you flipped Martha, or Martha's got a game ball and she says, we've got a great leader, and you chimed in the background. You said, damn right. I don't even know if you realized you did it, but you said, damn right. Why? I know you can go a million directions.
I mean, it's for Dan Campbell. I mean, he's the consummate professional, in my opinion. But I mean, just a guy he's the ultimate motivator.
Mm-hmm.
He stays locked in. He stays keyed in onto the things that matter. He does not get lost in the sauce about the things that don't matter. He stays even keel from week to week to week. It's the same message. And when you do the things that he's asking you to do right, he's going to tell you that you did it right. He's going to emphasize the things that you did right. He's going to tell you the things you did wrong and how you can turn that around. But man, his first 10 seconds of that opening speech in the locker room was execution. You won the one-on-ones. They forgot who we were. They forgot that we were fighters. So when Martha is saying that we have, the best leader or the right leader, Dan is a makeup of all of the right things that you want in a leader. And I don't know if his imposing size or voice really have anything to do with it. But Dan is a guy that, in my opinion, from what I've watched him do over the last 5 seasons now, if he says that you need to do this, he would be the first one to go out there and show you how to get it done. He's going to lead from the front. He's never going to ask you to do something that he wouldn't have done himself or that he wouldn't ask somebody else to do. He's just reaffirming everything that he's taught these guys through the coaching staff. Look, just do it this way. I promise you'll have success. He got the guys to buy in a long time ago. And then you hear Brian Branch, who does have some questionable plays at times. First thing out of his mouth about the game ball. Hey, great. On to the Ravens. That's Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell has gotten in that head. Great. We won. It's done. Ravens now. That's the mentality that you need in a team. Not hey, man, we're going to the strip club tonight. We're going to go out and celebrate this win. This isn't the 80s and 90s anymore. That's what they would do. Go ask Michael Irvin. Tons of trouble. Great football player, getting in tons of trouble back then. Not a good locker room, right? Hard to win football games. In today's NFL, they have really tried to clean everything up, and that is why Dan Campbell emphasizes again, we have the right guys. They're going to take care of the bodies. They're going to take care of their teammates. They're going to do what's right. They're going to stay in that playbook, and they're not going to get too high or too low. We won. Great. We expected to win. Compartmentalize it. Move on. On to the next one. All right, we lost in week 1. We're not going to get down. Now we're going to work even harder. Right? We're not going to get lost in our own sauce. We got put in a blender. Now we need to go put somebody else in a blender. We need to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. And now they have all the confidence in the world. And now they just put so much on tape. The Ravens are going to have to prepare for everything. And that could put them in a blender. They might get too paralyzed by all the analysis that they're going to have to go through watching the Lions, thinking, man, everyone said that they weren't Ben Johnson anymore. They're better than Ben Johnson now. Speaking of Ben, I thought I was going to put him to bed. Riley, I got to ask you a question. I got to ask everyone a question that wasn't in last night. Oh, man. I missed the heart out. Let's do it. Let's get back to it. I got one final thing on Ben Johnson. Be right back.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rockhound Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Okay. Like I was saying, I had this one more tidbit on Ben Johnson. I'm hoping that our counter should be working. I don't know if it's actually working. It was reset yesterday. So 6 days, 11 hours, 4 minutes, 6 seconds before we take on the Ravens. Hopefully the counter will show that here in a moment. Brought to you by Pro Sports Zone. Don't forget to get all of your game action gear at Pro Sports Zone in Livonia, 37700 6 Mile Road. Go give John Yu a high five for the big Lions win against the Chicago Bears. And go find, the counter's not working. Go find what you need, man, to get ready for the Ravens. He's got plenty of stuff in stock for you. Only the hottest and latest styles, the best prices in the game. Get in there and check out Pro Sports Zone today. Why is my counter not working? I don't get it. All right. Ben Johnson. Jared Goff. What did we hear all week? What did we hear all last week? Jared Goff is not the same player without Ben Johnson. Jared Goff has not won any football games without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. Which that was a lie. That wasn't a correct stat. He actually won 3 games with Anthony Lynn. Actually, I think Anthony Lynn was already fired by that point, so it might have been Dan Campbell. But he won 3 games in the first season, right? And then in 2022, I still feel that Dan Campbell was the leader of that group, the leader of that offense through at least the first 4, 5, 6 weeks. Ben might have been the OC, but Dan Campbell was, in my opinion, heavily involved. And I'm going to continue to think that until somebody can prove me wrong otherwise. But it doesn't really matter. Jared Goff just won a football game with John Morton, and it was one of the best football games he's ever had as a professional. It's one of the best football games any quarterback has ever had in the NFL history. Did Jared Goff carry Ben Johnson? Let's flip the script. I said this last night. So for those of you that joined me last night, you heard this. I feel, personally, Jared Goff was the one carrying Ben. It was Jared Goff that went perfect 18 for 18 against Seattle. It was Jared Goff that has to be able to communicate to the guys, put the guys in the right cues, put them in the right situation, make the right calls and cues on the field, call the right protections, call the right audible, make sure that what you're seeing on the field is the right look that you need for that call to even work. Because remember, when that call comes in, you don't know what the defense is going to run yet. When you get up to the line and you survey the field, that's Jared Goff. It's not Ben. There's no communication at the 15-second mark. It's all Jared Goff after the play comes in. So great, a play comes in. Now Jared Goff has to execute. But it's not just Jared. It's Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. It's David Montgomery. It's the offensive line. It's everybody on the offense that needs to execute. And so what I think and what I feel is Ben might have been a good play caller. He might have been calling some good plays at the right time. But he's not the one out there making the play. He's not the one out there making that play work. You look at what Jared Goff did this weekend and how he navigated pressure, climbed the pocket, got the ball out, looking to the other side, throwing the ball opposite hash, to a slanting Laporta or J-Mo coming from the other direction on a route that they say that they practice all the time that is intentionally thrown behind him. The same type of play that Amon-Ra St. Brown said in the preseason after training camp, that back shoulder throw that looked like it was way behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. They practice that. Extremely late hand throws so that these guys cannot get it on the other side, on the defense. They don't have a shot at it. Does anybody really understand how pin perfect Jared Goff really is? The way that he spins it may not be the most sexy spiral all the time. Sometimes he has a little wobble. What quarterback doesn't? But you know what I saw in the Bears game? I saw a 53-yard bomb to J-Mo for a TD. And before that, we saw about a 60-yard bomb that he overthrew J-Mo. He didn't even load up. Jared literally dropped back in his stance and just flicked it. 53 yards in the air. Perfect to J-Mo for a TD. Yet, all we heard is he can't throw a deep ball. He can't hit J-Mo because J-Mo in his first year, in his second year, was having trouble catching the football because J-Mo was losing the ball in the lights. It wasn't Goff. J-Mo and him just didn't click yet. And J-Mo was used to being able to free ball it a little bit, right? He could do kind of whatever he wanted at Bama. It's different in a timing system that requires a quarterback to be on it. You have to be almost perfect. Well, literally, you do need to be perfect in a timing route. But that's why if Jared wanted to sit back and close his eyes and throw the football, he knows exactly where that ball's going without looking. And they've done that in practice too. Now, there was a video about it a couple years ago. I believe that Jared Goff is the one that is carrying these guys. And by the way, they built this offense around who? Jared Goff. This offense works for him. You saw what Hendon Hooker looked like in this offense. You saw what Kyle Allen looked like in this offense. It's not good. Kyle's a little bit better than... He's the better of the worst two trying to run this offense. Go grab Lamar Jackson and throw him in this offense. He won't make it. I guarantee you he won't make it. Joe Burrow would have a little bit of an easier time than Lamar Jackson. Tom Brady would have perfect time probably in this offense. Patrick Mahomes wouldn't have a good time in this. I mean, as good as he is as a quarterback, if you asked Mahomes to sit back and not use his feet and to hit all timing routes, it's not easy. This offense is not for everybody. And just like being a Detroit Lion is not for everybody. We're going to find out this season if it was Jared Goff or Ben Johnson. But I'm telling you, Jared has now done this with Sean McVay. So did he carry Sean McVay too? I mentioned last night the word common denominator. And then every time you start talking about a series of things or a pattern of things, you look at the common denominator. What is always the same in this situation? When you look at analytics and stats and metrics and all that good stuff like I do, we look for common denominators. What is Brett Layton, if he was in here, I think he says he's a chemist or something like that. You look for, oh God, the word's escaping me right now. Control. What's the control in this situation? Right? How do you evaluate if two quarterbacks are doing the same thing? Why does this one look way different than this one? It's the same play, same everything. The quarterback's different. The common denominator is Jared Goff. Jared Goff is the one that's been with Sean McVay. Jared Goff is the one that's been with Dan Campbell, Anthony Lynn, John Morton, Ben Johnson. It's Jared Goff. Don't sit here and tell me that Jared Goff can't win football games without Sean McVay or Ben Johnson. He's done it with everybody. And matter of fact, I'm sorry, I think that Jared Goff carried Sean McVay. So why did they have success immediately with Matthew Stafford? Well, Matthew Stafford's a hell of a quarterback. He probably carried Sean McVay in that season that they won the Super Bowl. They had a couple of decent seasons after that, largely because their defense was really good. How are the Rams sitting right now?
They are 2-0, but
2-0.
And listen, I love Matthew Stafford. Absolutely love, my favorite all-time player. But that team was ready-made.
Yeah.
They were ready to go. And change, sometimes, like Dan Campbell said with Hendon Hooker, sometimes a player just needs to change his scenery. I don't believe nearly what I used to think with, oh man, they're getting rid of Goff just because they have won a Super Bowl with Goff? Probably. They probably could have. But he wanted to make a change. It wasn't because Goff didn't have the capability. It just, things don't last forever, right? So they made a change. And I give Stafford the credit for going there, but that team was ready-made, dude. The oven was preheated. They just went in and they had to just get a little bit over the top. And sometimes you're just fueled and motivated by change. And so I think that's what it was. But I think that gets to the point. Could the Rams have won a Super Bowl with Jared Goff? They probably could have.
Oh, they definitely could have. I feel like, that whole narrative.
It's old.
It's definitely old, but it's like, I think you're a product of the team, right? And I think that Jared Goff I think he was the scapegoat for Sean McVay. I don't think that Jared Goff was the problem. Look, in that Super Bowl, man, they had a really good plan against the Rams. They didn't execute. Their defense didn't make, enough stops. So it's why it's the ultimate team game, man. It relies on everybody.
It really is. And we talk about, do we sound repetitive? Does Will sound repetitive on something? Well, the truth is consistent, right? So you're going to kind of hear the same variation of things or the same version of things because it is what it is. Will has felt this way. I know for everybody that's listening to the show, we all kind of have an understanding of where we all stand with this. But let me ask you this, Will. You said when Ben Johnson left, okay, it'll be fine. Just like when Hutchinson went down last year, okay, it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
That's not blind fandom. When Ben Johnson left, you said it multiple times this offseason. The Lions are going to be fine because you have all the players coming back, most all the players, and it's a product. This offense was whose brainchild?
It's always been Dan Campbell's, man.
Dan Campbell. So if I could tell you, and here's what the Lions did on Sunday. For the first time in franchise history, this is according to Detroit Lions PR, the Lions produced a game with 500 total net yards, 5 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. So if I told you on May 26th or June 8th, random days in the summer, it takes the Lions 2 games to have a historic offensive performance. Does that not compliment your thought that Ben Johnson, yeah, he's a good coach, but this wasn't his, he was renting the car. He wasn't the owner of it.
That's another great analogy, right? If I go and rent a Ferrari and I go win a race, is it because the Camaro that I was driving before that wasn't, that I wasn't a good driver of the Camaro. Am I any better of a driver of the Ferrari? No. It's a big difference here between a Camaro and a Ferrari. It's the same thing for Ben Johnson. He jumped into a Ferrari, and now he's in a Yugo. Doesn't look good, right? But the common denominator is no longer the same. It's Caleb Williams, not Jared Goff. You can't fit a round peg in a square hole. You can't ask Caleb Williams to be Jared Goff. It's not going to work. Caleb does not thrive in a timing offense so far. He wants to use his legs. The first thing that he's trying to do is tuck and run. And you can, if you really look, it looks forced. It looks forced that he's sitting back there and he doesn't feel comfortable. He can't even get through his progressions. So you'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, on that note, Ben Johnson actually said, he was talking yesterday, says asked about Caleb Williams, quote, "It's not perfect yet. There's still a number of plays where our eyes aren't quite in the right position, or we're holding onto the ball just a tick longer than we're coaching."
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking about, and he's saying to share the but if he could do this with True Serum, he'd say, yeah, the dude's not reading, his eyes aren't moving the way I'm coaching him to. It's a tick longer than we're coaching. So he's nudge, he's telling him, I'm telling him to do this, guys. He has to do it. And it's, you mentioned the analogy of going from a Ferrari to a Yugo. Well, Ben, if you go to Chicago, you're not going to be as happy as you were when you had Jared Goff. And when you talk about Lamar wouldn't thrive in Detroit's system, I think the same would be true. Okay, you're not saying Jared Goff would go to Baltimore and do what Lamar does in Baltimore. It's different.
Right.
Everybody needs a pair of shoes, but everybody needs a different size. Right.
There you go,
You have to have a fit, and that we're seeing. Again, I'm coming around to it. I'm like, okay, I got it. I see what Will's saying. You don't just blindly follow whoever the quarterback is, but there's a reason you're so passionate about Jared Goff. And I don't know how many more 500-yard games he needs to have to start getting a damn game ball from Coach Campbell. But
well, hey, you already put that one on ice, man. It's expected for Jared Goff to have those type of football games now. It's expected for him to execute at a high level, and Dan is not going to expect anything less. And so I think that's a correct statement, man, by you, that it was expected. So the real performance there, Jared Goff did what he was supposed to do. And it was up to Amon-Ra St. Brown to create separation. I don't know how Amon-Ra does it, man. You watch him run these routes. And you know what I first said about Amon-Ra when I saw him run for the very first few games back in 20, I'm like, that is Golden Tate. You just watch how he runs, and it looks so Golden Tate to me. Even Burleson to a degree. Like, they're very similar in how they operate. But Golden Tate had this way of just getting open. And it's not pure speed. It's perfect route running. It's the execution at the dive and pivot. It's execution at planting that foot and using a little bit of misdirection. It's selling the route, right? It's putting your arms in the right place. It's leading the defensive back to believe you're going in one direction, you're going in another. And that's what you're seeing with J-Mo now in this season too, is he's executing at a much higher level himself with his route running. J-Mo's route running is so much better compared to where it was just a season ago. And you go back 2 seasons, man, he looks like a totally different football player. So anyway, let's move forward here. I thought I saw something in the chat. Someone was talking about Trey Hendrickson. So I want to go to defensive end here for just a moment. Edge talk. One of the things that I had mentioned, I believe that we spoke about it, I don't know, a few weeks ago. Riley was trade deadline. And if the exact phrase I said was, If the Bengals season looks like it's done, now you know what you have in Trey Hendrickson. From a contract perspective, from an expectation to play perspective, you know what you now have. Trey is $30 million a year. By the trade deadline, there'll be 7 weeks left in the season? So if I just do quick math without even looking up the contract, that's 30 million divided by 17 games. Multiply that by 7. It's going to cost you about, rough numbers, $13 million to bring in Trey Hendrickson for the rest of the season. If you need him. Or if there's even an opportunity to even trade for him. That's if the Bengals are willing to give him up. So far, the Bengals talked a big talk, but they never wanted to let Trey go. They let multiple first-round picks go. They didn't trade him. They told him to go shop, this spring. They didn't trade him. They had offers. They didn't move him. Somehow they got the dude to play for an extra 14 or 15 million bucks this year for 30 million. And he'll be a free agent next year. So when I said, now you know what you have, it's because now you understand how much it's going to cost. He's already playing. There's not this, I'm going to bring you in, and now I have to give you a 4-year deal to get you on the field. No, you're already playing. So that means if I trade for you, you will continue to play. However, I shouldn't have to give you a new deal. Right? And so that's the expectation, I believe, with Trey Hendrickson right now. And that's why, I don't know how many weeks ago it was that we spoke about this. I'm trying to remember what the context was even about. The point is, the point is if the Lions do need somebody, I do believe that Trey is that guy that they would probably bring in. And unfortunately, there really wasn't a lot of talk from the Lions in Trey. The Lions were not one of the teams that were mentioned at the very end in communicating to the Bengals for Trey Hendrickson, as reported. Now, I know that there was people reporting or saying, oh, Brad Holmes was on the phone yesterday with the Bengals and talked. No, he wasn't. He wasn't. You wouldn't know that. He absolutely wasn't. And I didn't see any confirmed reports by Ian Rappaport or Adam Schefter or Mike Garafolo or anybody else, Schultz, saying that the Lions at the very end, before Trey got his deal, that the Lions were offering anything up for Trey. What is it going to take to bring Trey in if you do need him? If you do want to have a luxury option, just in case Davenport isn't around, how much are you giving up to spend $13 million on a 7 to 11 game rental? For me, it's probably a 4th round pick. And that's probably all they're going to get for him. Honestly. I mean, go look at the record, right? Go look at all the trades at the trade deadline. How often do you see a player like that really goes for boatloads of picks? Especially when you have to pay him a premium in salary. The reason why I said that it's more affordable or more of an option at this point is because it's only $13 million for the balance of the season. And you're hoping that is playoff Super Bowl run. The bad thing is you could bring him in, he could get injured the first game just like anybody else. That's the tough nut to crack about all this. Is you love what Brian Branch does, right? Well, you use Brian Branch a little bit more. You love what Jack Campbell does, you use Jack a little bit more. And the reason why I'm saying that is if you do spend that kind of money on him, we've already done the math. Look, they paid J-Mo about $3 million more per year than I was expecting that contract to go. I said it was going to be around $25 million. I think he got 27 plus. How are you going to keep these guys next year? How are you going to keep Campbell and Gibbs and Branch and everybody else, right? How are you going to keep them? If you pay Trey $13 million for a half a season rental, We know that Brian is going to get $20 million plus. We know that Gibbs is probably going to get $20 million plus. We know that Jack Campbell's going to get $15 million plus. You're going to lose somebody. So let's just hope that Davenport's fine. However, I think that this is the year that Brad Holmes will go after it at the trade deadline if need be. If we are in a situation, I do believe that this is the year that he's ready to do it. Unfortunately, it just means that we could potentially lose a player next year, which sucks.
Yeah, you have in the offseason the map. You have, okay, if here's what things are projected to look like, but then when the games start, things change. Joe Burrow's toe gets hurt. There's so many. That's the drama of the NFL, right? It's the drama of roster roulette. It's the drama of fitting the puzzle together. And how are these teams positioned? And it's the shiny new toy, right? That's always a thing, but is kind of anticlimactic, I guess, as it might be. I keep telling myself the trade acquisition or the best acquisition the team's going to get later in the season is Aleem McNeil. It's a guy that's already on the team, but we know he's coming back, and that's a hell of a reinforcement to get. And then you get into, well, what is he going to look like when he comes back? There's so many layers to go, and we'll take it kind of a week by week thing. But yeah, certainly if they do a fire sell, we don't want to pay you all this much, Trey, and then the season's about to start. All right, we really want you here. All right, come along. And then if they're not in position, they're 2-0 right now. But if their backup quarterback doesn't keep them afloat, things might, they might change. You might do what Ben Johnson did, probably even in the third quarter, just wave the white flag and call it. And then maybe he becomes available, but it will be interesting to see. And I had the thought too, I don't know. I think Zadarius played Sunday for the Eagles. I don't know how he did, but
I think he had a sack. So did Davenport. Like, it's not like he had this crazy game. The Eagles have a pretty loaded team, right? They do. What I don't want to see, in what we're going to see, is all the bullshit about, it's time to bring in Trey now, or it's time to bring it. Look, that ain't happening. It's not. It's not happening. I'll be definitive and say that any other edge rusher out there that is any good, right? That is a top tier edge rusher, it's not happening today or tomorrow.
They're not available right now.
They're definitely not available right now. Not in week 2. That's where this level of brainwave I don't get by fans. Tell me a team. Brad has told you for 3 years straight, there is not a team that is trading that player right now. It's week 3. They're not. They don't care that Joe Burrow is on the sideline. They don't. Because they're still going to try to get some wins. And no one is gonna pay them what they want. No one's definitely going to pay $30 million for Trey right now and give a massive pickup. Because that's what it would be right now. This early in the season, it would be a much, much higher pick. You have to remember, too, that the Lions are expected to pick towards the end of each round, which means that the pick value goes up. And we don't have any third-round picks right now for a couple of, at least next year. So it would be a future third in 27, or it would probably be a fourth round, which I don't even know. Do we have a fourth-round pick next year? I think we do. It could be as high as a second-round pick. If you wait till the trade deadline, I think it's closer to a third or a fourth. So the Lions may have to do a trade with somebody to gain a pick and then trade that pick away. Or what the Bengals have wanted this entire time is a player. What player would we give up in a trade to bring in Trey? I would send Josh Paschal. That's who I would send. I would send Josh Paschal. But then there goes your depth. If Trey goes down, you're screwed. And I don't know what Josh is worth right now.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say, I don't think Cincinnati would do that right now. You got to, is it a seller's market or is it a buyer's market? You got to strike at the right time. And then, you see what the Lions outlook will be at that time. We expect and have reason to expect that they'll be in really good position. I love it, man. I kind of, obviously I want every NFC North team to lose every game they play, but I don't mind that Green Bay, okay, you guys, great fair play. You guys won week 1. All right. Now the Lions got to go play Baltimore. I love this. I love that it's hard. I love that it's challenging. I love that I've heard some people float out the ideas of, man, you shouldn't start the season with divisional games. There's an argument for both sides, but if you're the team that wins that game, you're happy with it. You think it's great. You got, but it's the constant battle for, the leverage within the division. And in this division, we all understand it's not going to be easy, and that's okay. That's fine.
So let me make 2 analogies or 2 comments. There's 2 things in here that kind of pair together. Raw Bees says Mac out for the year. Chargers could be comp for a deadline trade. Absolutely. The Chargers have a good football team, and they may look so with the defense that they run. Obviously, Trey and Mac, 2 totally different style of football players. Like, they wouldn't fit. I don't think that Trey would fit per se on for the Chargers. However, they might be looking elsewhere. The other thing is, Trey says, well, what team do you think is going to have the first fire sale? I do believe that the Bengals right now would potentially be looking to move something or somebody. But, man, they just signed their guys, right? They just signed those 2 wide receivers. So how are they, like, what are they really going to give up? Who on that team are they really going to get rid of? Trey is probably the only one, honestly, at least right now, without me analyzing the full roster. I would say that it's right now. It's Trey. And I'll look around and try to find some comps or some availability. Like comments like this. I don't know who this dude is, but he was, of course, saying something about Marcus Davenport running a laundry scheme where he convinces teams that he's healthy enough to play for real this time and make sure he gets hurt by week 3 so that he can sit at home all day, name searching people that call him injury prone. Does anybody realize that he's barely making vet minimum this year? And that's it. Barely. He would have to outperform every season he's ever had to make the full number that he was given as an option. It's so incentive laden. And I said, well, that's great, but he's making vet minimum. He will also be fine. At least we're expecting that Davenport's going to be fine. The response is, could have used that money to build a school in Africa. Yeah, well, so could all the other players that get injured. It's just that. Is that the level of fan that we have in Detroit? Is that really the brain level? What's missing?
See,
there's something missing between the ears here. I don't understand it. Or for instance, how about this one? Brad Holmes should be fired unless he brings in Trey right now. Why should he be fired? What has Brad Holmes done for this team for the last 5 seasons? He's provided you with 2, huge winning seasons in 23 and 24, playoffs in 23 to the NFC Championship. He's given you, 7, 8 players that are all Pro Bowl every year, just about. We have somebody that's a Pro Bowl or all Pro or multiple guys. And it's not the Pro Bowl game. That's not what we're talking about. It's the award, right? Being voted on as that type of a player. That's what the Pro Bowl means, that you are in the upper echelon of football players in the league. We have a team that is so loaded that they are strapped come next season to try to keep them all. So why would you want to fire a guy that completely turned around a franchise? The people that are saying that are idiots. Flat out idiots. Do not know football. Period. Or they say that, oh, Brad Holmes said we're good. Dan Campbell said we're good. What would have happened yesterday if Aiden got hurt? What would you be saying then? Let's spin the narrative, Riley. What would you say if Aiden got hurt yesterday? Would you say fire Brad?
Absolutely not.
Would you say that we have we must go get Trey or fire Brad because Aiden got hurt? Or would you be saying, man, Aiden's injury prone? Well,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? So you can't, and here's the problem. They can't take the three, 4 letters out, which is U of M. They can't just take those letters away from Aiden Hutchinson. And that's why they'll never bash the guy. They'll never talk negatively about him. They'll never tell the truth about him because of their Saturday team. He's no longer a Michigan Wolverine. He's a Detroit Lion. If Aiden were to get hurt, which yesterday he looked terrible, or not yesterday, in the game, he did not look good at all, period. 3 guys on that team had a sack before Aiden did.
Mm-hmm.
I think Aiden had 1 pressure maybe in this game. He did not look. He did not look good. But you know who did pressure the quarterback and who did make plays the last 2 weeks with stuffs in the run game versus the Packers, where Aiden didn't have a stat at all. Period. Marcus Davenport.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The problem is he landed on his shoulder. Anybody could have done that. It just so happened to be him. Which sucks.
So you are, in my mind, you are kind of the in all of Lions media, you're the Marcus Davenport flag bearer. You believe in him. Let me just ask you point blank, Will, if you had to choose one player, and I know the answer, but if you had to choose one player on this team, Aiden Hutchinson or Marcus Davenport, who would you take?
Say that again.
If you had to choose one player on this roster to be on this roster, Aiden Hutchinson or Marcus Davenport, who would you choose?
Well, right now it's Aiden. Of course it is.
Of course it is. Right. The person that would say, Marcus Davenport, he's fleecing these guys. He's on the vet minimum. That's part of why Brad Holmes brought him back. What makes you think Brad Holmes is stupid enough to get fleeced? He's smart enough to draft all these guys and roster roulette and fit the puzzle together. But then you think he would just be like, not think through what Davenport's value is versus, there's evaluation and then there's valuation, right? To get Davenport at the price you got him at is part of where that value lies. Obviously, Hutch is the best, in theory, he's the best player on the defensive side of the ball on this team. Nobody questions that, right? It's the value of it's the price tag. And I think that's why, just in case, I guess evidently it needs to be cleared up, that's why I feel Will is a strong believer in Davenport. It's not that he's the best player on the team.
Well, he can be. That's the thing, is Davenport can be. Davenport is different. Davenport's not light in the ass. Davenport doesn't get steered around. Davenport he bowls right through your chest. Aiden doesn't. Aiden goes from the outside. Aiden gets steered around. Aiden gets put on his heels. And I'm not going to call anybody out independently, but I constantly hear the double and triple team excuse. Davenport gets doubled too. There is no triple teams. Watch the film, please. When people make comments like that, I don't think that they ever watched film in their life. Because if you don't go in and if you don't have the NFL Pro account to be able to go back and watch every single play from all the different angles, I've done it. We did it yesterday for some plays. There was no triple teams. And here's the bigger problem. Myles Garrett beats double teams. If you're calling Aiden elite, why can't he? Well, the first thing is he doesn't have 34-inch arms. So Aiden gets locked in on tackles and can't get free. That's why. If he had longer arms, he could stab long and stay off the tackle. Well, then he has a better opportunity at using leverage and bend. But he doesn't have it. That's why he uses a spin move. How many edge rushers really use a spin move as much as Aiden? Like that's his bag. That's it. I'd rather see power. Right? Aiden is the speed guy. He's supposed to use speed and leverage and bend. Davenport is your power guy. He's supposed to use his bull rush speed to power, get long, push the tackle back into the box, crush the can, crash down on that offensive line to kind of force the ball to the other side. They're two totally different players. But Davenport can be a very effective, and he has been a very effective defensive end, one of the best at setting an edge. Period. Injuries happen, right? You can't predict it. You can't do anything about it. However, I'm going to go back to the first thing I said, and then I'm going to get off this topic. This defense is not about Aiden. Stop saying we need somebody for Aiden, because right now we need somebody opposite, well, of Davenport if he's in the game, because Aiden has not looked good, period. Go watch the film. He does not look good. And like I said this morning, it's going to take some time. But right now, the bigger problem is Aiden is not Aiden of 2024. He's not even Aiden of 2023. He does not look great right now. And last night, I highlighted a couple of pieces of film where Aiden's just kind of jumping around, hopping around, looking like he's worried about his leg. And his eyes are completely lost. He's getting faked out on everything. He has his whole career. He gets faked out constantly. His eyes are not focused on the ball. That's how you move as a defensive end, with your eyes are focused on the football. If you do a spin move, are your eyes on the football anymore? No, they're not. Watch film. Matter of fact, we'll do it together. I'll make time. I'll put some film together today, and I'll make time, and we'll try to do it tomorrow night for Gripes and Hypes. So get your Gripes and Hypes into mailbag at rockdown.com. Quick break, and then we got Riley on the 30s. That's way late, but we got Riley on the 30s here. Are you queued up for that, Riley?
You know what? I didn't have a second one lined up, so
No?
but I got a couple NFC North quick hitters that I can roll with. So yes, let's roll it.
All right.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.
Where did he go? There he is. Riley, what do you got?
Just being elusive, man. Trying to keep the defenders guessing, I guess. Hey, a couple NFC North quick hitters for us. I don't think we had gotten into this yet. We've spent a lot of time still kind of talking about Chicago, Ben Johnson. Yesterday in his press conference, Ben Johnson, I don't have a direct quote pulled up in front of me, but he was alluding to a lack of effort from some of the players on Chicago's offensive side of the ball in particular, saying, hey, we're going to find out this week in practice what guys really want to be involved in the game plan going into Sunday. Some speculation in Chicago that DJ Moore might not be long for that roster, might be on a new team. He's already been overtaken by Rome Odunze by most pundits as the clear number one receiver in Chicago. Things are not good if you're already questioning effort levels in only week 2, especially a game. 2 NFC North opponents, you should have been firing out the gates. Should have done what the Lions did. Take a loss, come back, respond stronger. So there's already some questions in Chicago, as we've discussed. And then in Minnesota, Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell has said that J.J. McCarthy will be out for week 3 against the Cincinnati Bengals, possibly even longer. Assuming McCarthy is unable to go Sunday, Carson Wentz would be the starter. O'Connell said that McCarthy came in, quote, very, very sore Monday, which prompted the team to further evaluate his ankle. While O'Connell doesn't expect McCarthy to play in week 3, coach said he didn't believe it was an injury that would result in McCarthy being placed on injured reserve. So he will be out for at least week 3, possibly longer, but at this point won't go on IR. So some shaky things going on in Chicago and Minnesota, which bodes well for Detroit. But as Dan Campbell said, we're going to control and focus on us and what we can control and focus on.
Okay, so there's another name. Let's think about that for a moment. McCarthy. Is McCarthy a Davenport? He missed his entire rookie year. And now it's week 2, and he's already injured. And he's going to miss multiple games. And then how does he play the rest of the season? He hasn't even been through 2 full seasons, and he's already going to miss at least, 20 games? 20 out of a possible 34? At a minimum. I don't hear people saying fire Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi because McCarthy's injured. I don't hear them saying that they need to go out and sign Patrick Mahomes. It's part of the game. I got Jeff over here looking at how many first players drafted in the first round since 2022 have missed the most time since they've been drafted. That's an interesting concept. It's an interesting conversation. Here's what I'm going to say at the end of the day. I'm not going to make excuses for Davenport. Am I disappointed? Absolutely. Absolutely, I'm disappointed. This is a guy that we know for a fact when he's on the field, he's going to mess you up. When he's on the field, he's going to affect it in a big way. When he's not on the field, it's a problem. Right? But here's the other side of that. Aiden Hutchinson is supposed to be your star edge rusher. On 26 out of 32 teams, you barely have the opposite side that is even 15, 20% as good as your star. There's only a couple of teams that really have 2 bona fide guys on either side. And then this is only 4-2, 4-3 hybrid that we're talking about. You can't talk about a 3-4 defense because those are outside linebackers. Totally different. The defensive end is up on the line on the inside in a 3-4. I mean, they do kind of kick out wide sometimes, but it's not. I mean, they do get on the outside shoulder of the tackle a little bit, but it's still the outside linebackers that are playing off ball in that wide look. So in a 4-3, 4-2 hybrid, or base system, which is about 16 teams in the NFL, there's only really one team out there that has, and I did all this before. I have a sheet.
As you are pulling that up, Will, let me just give you a quick list also in Minnesota. Outside of J.J. McCarthy, Ryan Kelly, Ty Chandler, Jeff Okudah, Aaron Jones, J.J. McCarthy, Harrison Smith, Blake Cashman, Jordan Addison, Rondell Moore, Gabriel Murphy, Christian Darrisaw, Andrew Van Ginkel. All of those guys are either suspended or injured.
That's crazy. I didn't hear the Van Ginkel one. What happened with him?
I just see his name's on this list from an absolutely verified, trusted Viking source. I don't know let me see if I can see what his ailment is, but
that's a ton. Like that's a ton. That's last year the Lions coming out of training camp. Concussion? Okay. Yeah, I didn't see that one. So he'll be gone for maybe a game. Maybe a game. But still, that's a ton. And again, I don't hear them sounding off and trying to get their GM. So I just pulled up the injury report too for the Vikings. Yeah, it is McCarthy questionable, Aaron Jones questionable, Ginkel out, Jeff Okudah was out, Darrisaw was out for the game. Before that, it was Gabriel, School, Kelly, all questionable. And on September 14th, Austin Keys, Harrison Smith out. Harrison Smith's been around for a while, man. September
Yeah.
11, it was Ty Chandler to IR, Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman to IR is huge. Tyler Batty, the guy that they just brought in, huge. He's out. That was at the end of August. Yeah, man, they've got a ton of injuries over there. A lot of IRs.
Yeah, and they just lost the Sunday night football home opener, JJ's home debut, and we go week by week, and the difference a week can make in how you feel. But imagine if you just lost on Sunday, if the Lions had just lost and you have that list of 15, 16 names, you got to kind of wade through, like you talked about earlier with Dan Campbell. It's never too high, never too low. So kind of had to do that as a fan as well, right? That's I follow a lot of Vikings fans. We have friends that are, fans of the show. Jason Harmon and Thor are good friends of ours. And those are great guys, great Vikings fans. They're not happy, but they're not panicking. You can't panic.
That's the difference. I mean, I think that everyone has a certain level of panic, but you expect that the team is going to be able to do something. The Lions proved last year that something can be done. Now, it may not fulfill the season dream, but at least they finished the season on a high note. And then when they went to the postseason, it obviously didn't go well. Kind of expected. You were kind of lying to yourself last year if you thought that it was really going to go any further. Once Amik went down, that was over. Let me get into a couple of things here. So we talked about the Bengals, Joe Burrow, kind of looking at our scheduled report. We tried to go out to the next 3, 4, 5 games. Joe Burrow out 3 months. Definitely going to miss the matchup with the Lions. So now that should be a win, you would hope, for the Lions. Here's what we will see. If Trey Hendrickson is out that game and he's not out with an injury, possible trade, right? So pay attention to that. If Trey Hendrickson is not injured before week 5 and he's not playing in the game against the Lions, possible trade impending, right? We'll also see if he's not injured and he is playing. Let's see how good Trey really is against our guys. Because if he is that guy, then he should have those sacks, right? So we'll see. You best believe I'll be all over that week. Ravens, injury report. Did we go through that? You didn't go through that already, right?
No, nope.
So on the Ravens side right now, September 16th, Isaiah Likely, their tight end, is questionable against the Lions. Patrick Ricard, their fullback, is questionable. Kyle Van Noy is questionable, likely out. Should miss multiple weeks after sustaining a hamstring injury in the win over the Browns, reported by Jeremy Fowler. Marlon Humphrey, cornerback, as of the 14th, he was questionable to return to Sunday's game against the Browns due to a groin injury, reported by Brian Wacker of the Baltimore Sun Report. So that is one to pay attention to, whether he's going to be able to suit up versus the Lions. As of right now, I would say probably not. And then Rashid Ali, their running back, his concussion was out for the rest of Sunday's game against the Browns. And Brian Wacker also reported on that one. You can get back in a week. We've seen it done before, but if teams are smart, they want to keep these guys out at least for one whole week. And that's really it. So the Ravens are fairly healthy right now. Kyle Van Noy is a big one. I mean, to think that he was a Detroit Lion at one point is crazy, right? The mismanagement of players back then is just nuts. Taking a look at the Browns, because we have them coming up right after the Ravens. Your Cleveland Browns right now, not a whole lot going on here, but Mike Hall on September 15th. So yesterday, he's out for the rest of the season, it looks like, potentially. DeAndre Carter, the wide receiver, questionable, had a concussion. He was ruled out for the rest of Sunday's game. Jack Conklin, offensive tackle, had an elbow eye injury, was inactive for Sunday's game versus the Ravens. Not sure if he'll be back before the Lions match up. And prior to all of that, they had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Say 9 guys go to injured reserve throughout the summer. And right after or right at cuts. So they're not unhealthy. I mean, they're still fairly healthy over there in Cleveland. The question is, for me with Cleveland, is what are they doing? Like Joe Flacco, I still don't know why this guy is starting. He's 56 of 90, 62% completion rate. He's tossed about 245 yards a game on average, 5.4 per play. He only has 2 TDs to 3 interceptions and 4 sacks. It's time to just throw a rookie in there and either choose Gabriel or Sanders. Like, just be done with it.
Yeah, find out if you've got anything with either of them.
Yeah, they're not going to win anything this season. It almost makes me believe that the Cleveland Browns are intentionally bringing in Joe Flacco just to tank the frickin' season, to get another higher draft pick. That's how I feel like they're because you're not going to win with Joe. Like, come on.
But that's the argument. So why not just roll with Sanders? And if he's good, then you've got your quarterback. And if he's not, you get a high draft pick. Interesting to see what, but trying to make sense of what Cleveland does. And I get the irony of saying this as a Lions fan, but that's it's a exercise that I don't know if my brain's got the power to process there. But you know what? That's obviously not so much true for Lions. And I got to get out of the mindset of apologizing always for being happy and proud to be a Lions fan. I wanted to bring up, I don't know if you still had anything on there, but
no, I'm good.
There is Brandy had mentioned, hey, Will, did you see?
Yeah, I just looked at that.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, Will threw up a video it's no longer got a K next to it. It's got an M. So it's over 1 million views. And I guess our guys over at Detroit 313, Detroit Den 313, they do a really good job. Will's shown me their stuff before, and shout out to those guys because Will introduced me, sent me their link and introduced our show to me, and they do a good job. But evidently they gave you a shout out.
Yeah, they do an excellent job over there. This just in from the Blue Zone chat. Lions Brian Branch and Ed Reed are the only defensive backs in the NFL since 1999 to accumulate the following numbers through the first 3 seasons of their career: 30 passes defensed, 15 TFLs, 5 interceptions, 3 sacks, 3 forced fumbles. Branch is only 2 games into his 3rd career season, and it took Ed Reed probably his whole season to accomplish that. Brian Branch should be able to wipe the slate clean of Ed Reed. So I'm glad you sent this in, and thank you, Trace, for uploading that. How much time do you have, Riley?
Yeah, I'm good. I got
10,
15 minutes.
All right. So here's where I want to go with this kind of for the rest of the show is Brian Branch and why I get it. You guys love to talk about edge and to sink all of this money into a bottomless pit of edge rushers. It just doesn't work for me, and it never will. Obviously, it doesn't work for Brad Holmes because he knows how to construct a roster that can win. This is why, right here, those stats, 15 TFLs, one of only ever to do it, Brian Branch. The reason why you have guys like this, which he'll be able to get more sacks this year because Aaron Glenn did not utilize him enough getting after the quarterback. He'll have more this year. But this is exactly why you can't sink a bunch of money into an outside source. Would any of you be okay with losing Brian Branch? And I'm not saying to an injury, I'm saying to trade or because I can't imagine the Lions would just let him walk in free agency. He's in his 3rd season, which means next year is his last season in Detroit. You're going to want to get a deal done. I bet you that Brian is probably going to be pushing for that next year, and so is his agent. prior to the season start. So Brian's going to need to get done. All right. We also know that if you're going to be able to sign Aiden, let's just call it 50 mil. I've heard 53. Between those two guys right now, what did Kirby get? About 20 mil a year? I think it was 20 mil.
Yeah, I think so.
Right around that number. So between Aiden and Kirby, or I'm saying between Aiden and Brian, that's $70 million on 2 players. And you still have 4 more to go of the guys that you would love to keep. And that's going to be another $80 million between those other 4. Actually, they just got JMO done. So that was 27 plus 20. That's $97.5 million on 3 players, if you include JMO in that list. Now, when their contracts hit is a little bit different because some were drafted first round, have a 5th-year option. Some were drafted second round or third round. They don't have a 5th-year option. So their contract's going to hit a lot quicker. This is why you can't go out and spend a boatload of money if you want to keep guys like Brian Branch and JMO around. My question right now is this. If Aiden were to continue on the trend that he's having right now, I said that he would have 12 sacks this season. I started with 9. I gave him 12. But I was thinking closer to 9. Partly because I felt like the DBs and the linebackers are going to be more involved. And then I went 12 just to kind of be nice, to think that he'll get double-digit sacks. I don't think he really needs to have more than that. But the question is this. If he only has 12 sacks this year, are you paying him $53 million? Does the sack number matter? I don't think it does. I mean, I think it does to some people. But if he has 12 sacks in the most TFLs he's ever had in his life, which I don't know how many that is, the conversation gets deeper then, because I think the TFLs are more important. I know TFLs are more important. I know TFLs and passes defensed and interceptions or turnovers are the most important stats on a defense. Without even talking scheme, those are the 3 most important stats that you can have. Stopping the ball behind the line of scrimmage, taking the ball away, right, and deflecting the pass, whether it's at the line of scrimmage or downfield. 3 most important things you can do. Getting a sack is not important, because how many times I've said this again, like a broken record. You get a sack on first down, they still get a first down. Sack was meaningless. You get a sack on second down, they get a first down. Sack was meaningless. You get a sack on third down, but you didn't drop them for 5 or 7 or 10, and now it's 4th and 5, and they go for it because they're at the 30-yard line, and they either get a touchdown or a first down. Sack was meaningless. That's why sacks don't matter. Unless you get that sack on 4th down and it stops them. Unless you get that sack on 3rd down and you drop them for a bunch of yardage and it pushes them out of field goal range, or it pushes them out of going, 4th and go territory. That's when the sack matters. But a TFL matters on every play. Every play. I'd rather see a guy like Brian Branch get paid and have multiple of him that can get a boatload of TFLs. And how good he is, Riley, like when he's in coverage, I mean, the dude, you heard Dan, he could do everything. He's a linebacker, he's a safety, he's a corner, he's a nickel, he's a threat, is what he is. He's just a heat-seeking missile that plays a little aggressive at times. He's going to give you 15 yards the opposite direction once a game. But he's a threat. I want guys like that on the field. I want guys that are multiple and flexible, that can play in multiple positions. I need a linebacker that is going to have TFLs and tipped balls and a couple of interceptions, but living behind that line of scrimmage, dropping the running back or the quarterback or, the end around from a receiver. Like, that's the style of players that I want to see on this team. Not just one guy that just goes, and gets you 12 or 15 sacks a year for $53 million. I think that is a huge waste of money. I'd rather have guys that can contain the ends and the other guys clean it up. That's what I'd rather see. So where I started with this is seeing these numbers from Brian Branch and how good that he is already, and how much, like Calvin Shepard said, he has so much more to grow up here. And the fact he's only entering year 3, you could see it on Calvin's face how excited he is for a guy like Brian Branch. What a beautiful pickup by Brad Holmes. We probably should fire Brad. Right? Probably should fire him.
Just get rid of him.
Just
get rid of him.
Just Brian Branch's pickup alone, the navigation of the trade to move up. Come on. Like that, and take him before the Packers could. Imagine if he was on the Packers team right now. But we should probably fire Brad. We should probably fire Brad for taking an injured player, moving all the way up to number 12 to take him, Jameson Williams. Probably should fire him for that.
Oh. You know what one of my favorite plays of the game on Sunday was? J-Mo's touchdown.
Oh, yeah. But we should probably fire Brad for trading for Jared Goff, too.
Yeah.
All right? And getting those first-round picks that help put this team on the map. Let's fire him for that. Let's think of some more. Who else should we fire him for?
I mean,
Kirby? How about Kirby?
Yeah, that was ridiculous. And then one of the things that was most laughable is who the hell takes a running back in the first round?
You're damn right. You know what? We should definitely fire him for drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. And it wasn't at number 6 where I said the Lions were going to take a running back that year. And my exact quote in the truck was, if the Lions don't take a running back at 6 and they get surprised, they're going to take Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. Exact quote. It's in a short on the channel. But we should fire him for that.
Slide back to 12, take him, go get your guy that you replaced with the one that was the biggest blunder too. He traded TJ Hawkinson.
Oh, we should fire him for that.
Traded TJ Hawkinson, right?
Well,
just replaced him with Sam Laporta.
I mean, wait, wasn't the trade with Hawk responsible for picking up Laporta? Wasn't that part of the trade, the pick?
Yeah.
Well, are we correct with that?
That is correct. Yep. I saw somebody yesterday said, "Oh, they used that pick on Hendon Hooker. It was a different pick. Part of the compensation from Hawkinson led to Laporta."
So we got the 2023 second round pick, number 55 overall, and the 2024 third round pick, number 73 overall. And so when you evaluate what the Lions got out of the deal, the Lions picked up Hendon Hooker at 68, Broderick Martin, hold on. Terrion Arnold is somehow involved in this. I was reading something by Pride of Detroit real quick. This is the first thing that popped up. The TJ Hawkinson trade results finalized here. The Detroit Lions got
Hooker.
It says Hooker. Where was it? Where did it just go?
Pick 122, part of the trade package for Broderick Martin. So they're getting pieces and then reallocating assets and moving things around.
Mm-hmm. I could have sworn though that Laporta was part of this. The Lions had netted Hooker, Martin, Terrion Arnold as part of that trade. And hold on. Meanwhile, the Lions were able to replace Hawkinson by drafting Sam Laporta in the second round last year. So maybe he wasn't a direct component to that trade, but
which if not, I'll own that. That would be my misspeaking on that. But certainly they would not have drafted Laporta if you still had TJ Hawkinson.
Well, that's facts. But we should still fire him because he traded Hawkinson. Like, let me look at something here real quick. And you just tell me when you got to bounce.
Yeah, you're good.
TJ Hawkinson so far on the year has 27 yards. Sam Laporta has 105. Fire Brad right now. That's too many yards for Sam Laporta. How about Amon-Ra St. Brown picking him up in 2021? How about that?
Yeah, questionable. We should know by the end of this year if that pick was smart or not. I think the jury's still out.
I don't know, man. I don't know if I have faith in Amon-Ra finally turning the corner.
We'll see. I mean, it's clear that Goff wants to target the ball, target him. He's going to give him opportunities, but.
He had an okay game against the Bears. Oh, it was all right. He only had 3 TDs. What else? What else did he do? Okay, so we've had what a total of maybe 3 players that haven't worked out. 4 maybe now. See, Broderick Martin hasn't worked out. Headed Hooker didn't work out. Jamar Jefferson didn't really work out.
Levi.
Okay, so Levi's been injured, right? And what's crazy is you don't hear a lot of fans jumping up and down about Levi. They want to jumping up and down around Davenport because there's just loudmouth idiots that talk about Davenport all the time or Edge all the time, and they're not taking into consideration the rest of the team. It's a freaking team sport, right? But Levi was a top 16 defensive tackle last year in his first real year playing. He's been injured his whole career for the Lions, and he was a top 16 defensive tackle with pressure, and then now this year he's done for the year again. But I don't hear people pumping their chest over that or see it. Tyleik Williams. Probably should have fired Brad for taking Tyleik Williams and not a defensive end. But so far, Tyleik Williams has done more to help this team in the first 2 games than go look at all the other, defensive ends that were taken around pick 28. All right, what have they done to help their team win right now? Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. So, anyway, what's crazy to me, Riley, is I guess I'm a guy that sees the glass half full. Always. Like, I'd rather live in a space that has positive energy, that I'm always thinking that I can keep filling the rest of my cup. But more importantly, I want to fill the cup of others. Right? That's what I'm about. I want to make sure that, when I leave this earth, that I've tried to fill the cup of others as much as possible. And that's why the Rockhound Cancer Foundation is so important to me. And hopefully it's important to all of you, especially if you've been touched by cancer, unfortunately, whether it's been a family member, a friend, mentor. That's why I do what I do. It just happens to mix with my feelings about the Detroit Lions, how I've been a fan my whole life. I've never been an SOL fan. I've always just been a Detroit Lions fan. And good or bad, now I have a voice to talk about it. We have a good audience. We have one of the best communities there is out there, probably the best community out there of audience members, fans, and members of the Detroit Lions, man. And I think that we have a good pulse on the real, the raw, the emotion, right? We try to cover everything that we possibly can. I wish that I had more time to do more, honestly. But what you're not going to get is fake actor bullcrap here. It sucks for Davenport. Highly disappointed. But at no point would I ever say that we should fire Brad Holmes ever for giving us what we've been waiting for, which is a team that can win football games. Right? If they go the rest of the year without Davenport and they win 13 or 14 games, is that a failure? That's an honest question, man. Is that a failure? If we win 13 or 14 games and go to the playoffs, we didn't have Davenport. Is that a failure?
It's not a failure.
It's not. What if we win a Super Bowl this year, but Davenport didn't play? Is that still a failure? Should we have fired Brad Holmes?
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to evaluate it to see. Yeah, you've got the. You might have the Lombardi, but did Davenport play?
Yeah. He'll play, man. He'll get in more games. You know what I said at the beginning of the year is we don't need him for every game. Like, we just need him to be in about a third or 2/3 of the games this year and healthy come postseason. That's really what we need. Players are going to miss a game here or there. All right, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Who's our depth at edge if Davenport can't return? Well, I answered that earlier, but I'll do it again. And it really doesn't matter. Honestly. The only thing that matters right now to me is why Aiden's not playing well. Now, of course, you're going to hear the things from Dan or other, people that are going to say, had a great game. I watched the film. Dan's not going to go up there and say that he sucked. Dan's not going to go up there and say he doesn't look right. And I don't want to sound like a guy that's always attacking Aiden, but if you're going to talk about one edge, we're going to talk about both. You're going to talk about one side, we're going to talk about the other. And we'll have an honest conversation about it. Al-Qadim Muhammad can flip to the other side. We brought in Tyler Lacey, so he's our immediate backup right now for Davenport. And I think that he was scratched in this most recent game, if I'm not mistaken. And then Josh Paschal when he comes back. Let's not forget about Pat O'Connor. Pat O'Connor also plays on the outside. Let's not forget about Chris Smith. Chris Smith can play on the outside. Matter of fact, Chris Smith, he's not like 290 or anything. He's not 280. He's not 270. He's over 300 pounds. But the guy has this weird ability whenever I've seen him on the outside to get pressure because he uses that weight and that power with a good bull rush, which is all you really need on that side. You can roll with 3 defensive tackles and 1 defensive end. You just need someone to push, right? If you need to make up for what you lose in Davenport, it's the bull rush is what you're missing. You need him to collapse and set the edge. You can still get that from somebody else. Josh Paschal was actually looking pretty good in his first full season, really, at playing a position that he didn't prep for. I'm sure he prepped for it a little bit, but he wasn't the primary look. But last year, Josh Paschal was looking pretty good on the outside comparatively across the league. When you look at other guys, we also have Tyrus Wheat. So Tyrus Wheat and Tyler Lacey were both brought in. And let's not forget about Mekhi Wingo. Mekhi Wingo absolutely can play on the outside. He's 6 foot 288. He was, Dan and Brad both explained ad nauseum about how good Wingo is on the outside. And he really started to step into his own last year until he got hurt. Why are we not firing Brad over Mekhi Wingo's injury? Right? I mean, my goodness, a 6th-round pick got injured. We should fire Brad. We have plenty of linebackers, and that'll be the last statement that I'll make on this. Again, this defense is not about highlighting the ends right now. From my perspective and what I've seen on tape so far, for the 3rd time today, is your ends are going to be put into a position to play in a zone scheme, close the end, control the end, contain the end, allow those linebackers and Brian Branch and others to do their job. If they need to get after the quarterback, they'll figure out a way to do it. but they're not going to sell out. You know, Aiden will consistently get after the quarterback, it seems like, but the rest of the guys, I mean, you've seen Aiden in the first game, Riley, dropping into coverage. I don't like that. I prefer not to do that. But he also got 3 interceptions his rookie year because he was dropping into coverage. They have plenty. That's the answer. They have plenty. They're fine. And I'll say it one last time. Just go look around the league and tell me who has 2 elite defensive ends. Okay, the Packers brought in. They have Rashawn Gary and they have Micah Parsons and Luca Van Ness. So Luca Van Ness and Rashawn Gary are their ends. Parsons has been playing in that outside linebacker role. He's also been up on the line a little bit. That's about as close as you're going to get to having a couple of elite guys that can play end. Is Rashawn Gary and Luca Van Ness elite right now? No. Is Rashawn Gary really good? Yes. Is Luca Van Ness looking better? Absolutely. Tell me another team. The Texans? They Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson. How are the Texans doing right now?
0-2.
0-2. But you know what? They have 2 elite guys on the end, Riley. They should be winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, the math isn't adding up here.
Yeah, it's been sarcasm for 20 minutes. I know. 2 more minutes. I want to look up the Texans PFF real quick, and then we're going to get out of here.
The Arizona Cardinals selected Walter Nolan, a defensive tackle. Oh, let me get that pulled back up. Probably 10 picks before the Lions took Tyreek, somewhere in there, and he has yet to play.
Wow. But Tyreek just had a really good game.
Yes.
He's only going to get better. All right, so pass rush right now, if I were to just Houston Texans right now are ranked number 1 in the pass rush, but they're 0-2. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. Let's look at pressure. They have, regular season, a total of 17 pressures on the season. 17. The Detroit Lions, according to PFF, how many pressures do you think we have? More or less?
I would say, how many did 17?
17 for the Texans. They're also ranked number 1 in pass rush.
Ooh, that's tough because I don't think we did great week 1. I would say we got more than 17.
Is that your final answer?
I'm going to say yes.
So you think we have more than 17?
Ooh, I'm put on the spot here. They didn't pressure Love very well on Sunday, week 1, but
more or less, yes or no?
Yes.
All right, yes. So we have more. We actually do. We have 18. So we have 18 pressures, and the Texans have 17. Here's the difference. We have, I'll go up here. Key. And I'm back it all the way out so I can even see what the key says. Hits. No. What is this one? Hurries. Can't see it. Looks like hurries. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Has to be hurries. We have 12 hurries on the quarterback, which that's exactly what you're looking for, right? You want to have some hurries. That means that the quarterback is going to be pressured to get rid of the football. The Texans have 12 or 11. We have 12. They have 11. They have 17 total. We have 18. Let's go to all teams. I don't think it'll give me all teams. Let me go back out. Pass rush. Houston's number 1. Lions 17, right in the middle through 2 weeks. Right in the middle. Riley, remind me, Cleveland Browns are 0-2, right?
They're
0-2.
They are.
Okay, they're number 2 in pass rush. Steelers are number 3 in pass rush. They're 1-1. The Bills and the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams are 4th, 5th, and 6th in pass rush. They're 2-0. The Philadelphia Eagles are 7th. They're 2-0. The Giants are tied for 7th. They're 0-2. The Packers are 2-0. They're 9th in pass rush. The Patriots, the Ravens are 10 and 11 in pass rush. They're 1-1. So 1, 2, 3. You have 3 teams in the top 10 that don't even have a win in pass rush. And then you have 2 teams that are even. So 5 out of the top 10 don't have a win or have 1 win through 2 weeks. The other 5 are 2-0. Make it make sense. Last year, regular season. Oh, come on, PFF. 2024 regular season pass rush. Your Lions were 8th. 8th. No Aiden, no Davenport, no Muhammad, no Barnes, no nobody. 8th in pass rush. Your Honor, I rest my case. Screw the pass rush. You don't need it. You really don't. What you need is a collective of guys. That's why this pass rush by committee has been around for decades. It's been taught for decades. Hive defense. Everybody working together. Riley, I know you got to get out of here, so give me your final 30.
Yeah, I think that the point is that the most important number when we look at these things is the number under the W in the W and the L section. If your team has 11 wins, but you're not getting enough sacks, is that a problem? Or vice versa, right? It's all about winning football, playing winning football. And that's what we have to say about Hutch so far this year. I mean, is individually, is he playing his best? Not yet. And that's fine. You just won a game by 30 points. That's a good position to be in. If one of your most talented players doesn't have a super great game and you win by 30, that's a good spot to be in. So I'm excited we'll get into Baltimore starting tomorrow, and everybody go have a great Tuesday, and we'll be back here tomorrow morning.
Well, if you want to fire Brad Holmes, then I think that the Houston Texans should probably fire their GM too, because they're 0-2 and they're leading in pass rush here in 2025. They have 2 of the most elite, talented defensive ends in the league, whereas the Lions have half a man, as he used to be, on one side, and another guy that is oft injured, and they still finished last season 8th in the league without anybody. But we should fire Brad Holmes because he put some elite football players around every position on the defense, which is exactly what a good GM will do. You're not going to go all in on one position. You're going to make sure that you kind of just dot and pepper around until you fill it in nicely, right? You kind of make your outline, and then you start shading, and before you know it, you get to the middle, and everything is covered. And that's what the Lions have done. They have built a team that, okay, guys, this week we're weak on the left side because we have an injury, but guess what? We have more than enough guys around that one position to make up for it. So we're just going to slide a little bit to our left. We're going to drop back in a zone. We're going to contain the quarterback, and we're going to take whatever they give us, and then we're going to take a little bit more. And that's why the Lions completely shut out the Bears here in week 2. Caleb couldn't go anywhere. In week 1, Jordan Love couldn't go anywhere. In both weeks, the run games were decent for the opponent, but they weren't good enough. I'll give up 70 yards to anybody any week in the run game. But what the Lions have proven time after time after time is if we go down a player, we have 2 or 3 more to step up. Whether it's to step up in the same position or around them to change or mimic or adapt a scheme a little bit to make sure that the game goes on. The Detroit Lions have a big game coming up next Monday against the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to get into that tomorrow. I appreciate each and every one of you for carrying on a good conversation and being well-behaved in the chat. That's what I love, man. Good debates. Great debates, but responsible, respectful people. Have a great day. Take care.
It's game time, Detroit, and you found the right place for the latest Detroit Lions news. So hop on in and take the ride to Super Bowl 60 with Rocked On Detroit Lions. Join Will Rock, Eric Rintamaki, and Riley O'Brien today on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Good morning.